Hello everyone.
Hello, hello Nicolas.
How are you, Boris?
I'm very well, thank you. And you?
Fine, I'm fine. I'm really happy to be here once again into one of the DxO laboratory for calibration, lens and camera calibration, and also for this wonderful live session on YouTube to discuss about Nik Collection 6.3. Feel free to use the chat if you need to ask any question, if you just want to say that you are happy to share your experience and so on. We are at your disposal. So we are going to start with a presentation about Nik Collection 6.3, of course, and then we will have a wonderful demo made by Boris, and then, of course, this Q&A session where every question can be asked, and we will do our best to answer your questions. So let's start. So just a word about us. So Boris Oliviero is the product manager of the Nik Collection, and I am still the DxO products evangelist. To continue, on behalf of all the DxO teams, we would like to thank you for joining us for this special moment. It is really a special moment at the end of the summer. We are gathered here to celebrate innovation and creativity. We understand that the lure of summer adventures and beautiful memories may have taken you in different directions, but your presence here today proves that you are dedicated to the creativity of photographers and their quest, our quest for excellence. Nik Collection has always been synonymous with pushing the boundaries of what's possible in photo retouching. Summer is a time for adventure, exploration and discovery, and in the spirit of the season, Nik Collection 6.3 is much more than just an update. It is a journey into the territories of artistic expression and technical perfection. So without further ado, let's get started with Nik Collection 6.3. And can I switch? Yeah. The Nik Collection is a piece of digital photography history. In 1995, in Germany, the Nik software company developed this suite of plugins. 70 years later, Google buys the Nik Collection, mainly for the mobile part with Snapseed. But 5 years later, Google announces the end of the development of the Nik Collection, much to the chagrin of the photographic community. Like the petition signed by thousands of photographers, led by the German photographer Sascha Reker, various initiatives and discussion threads on forums are multiplying, but in vain. Google remains on its position. The same year, DxO Lab took up the torch and took over the developments and improvements. The work is titanic. Several 100,000 lines of code make up the Nik Collection. And the conclusion is clear: the Nik Collection must be completely rewritten to be sustainable. But this rewriting work cannot be done without regularly updating Nik Collection to offer new features. Today, we proudly announce that the rewrite work is completely finished. Version 6.3 of the Nik Collection is a milestone for all photography lovers who want to benefit from powerful and integrated tools in all workflows. Sascha Reker, still a user of the Nik Collection made by DxO, with whom we are in contact, will be able to continue to use his favorite plugins for a long time. He, like all photographers, will continue to benefit from technical and functional developments, since the Nik Collection is available in 16 languages for both Windows and Mac. So on the occasion of this version 6.3 with Boris, we offer you a journey through the plugins and technologies of the Nik Collection. A trip with your camera or with your smartphone, your computer, and for only limits, those of your imagination, to create all the photo imaginable. Let's start this journey with a first plugin, Nik 6 HDR Efex. It is one of the two plugins to benefit in this version 6.3 from the Nik Collection by DxO interface. You are in Italy, in a villa in Tuscany, for example, and with your camera and your tripod, you take bracketed pictures. Thanks to HDR Efex, you put them together to create the perfect, balanced, natural image. The Nik Collection by DxO interface provides access to all local editing tools to inject your creativity into the image and/or achieve technical perfection. But you don't always take your camera in your bag. Sometimes, admittedly, it's your smartphone, like mine, I'm sure like
Mine as well,
you are
that's for
drinking,
sure.
like yours, Boris. It is so your smartphone, our smartphone, that takes the pictures. Not always straight and often distorted due to phone optics. This is where Nik 6 perspective comes in, and not just for photo taken with a smartphone, obviously. This plugin allows you to correct optical flows and geometry in the images. It can be used by any photographers, from 100% automatic to 100% manual with intuitive tools. Once your shot has been taken, and depending on the lens used, that of your smartphone or in a vintage approach with a M42 lens mounted on your digital camera, the image may lack sharpness. Nik 6 Pre-Sharpener allows, before starting the retouching steps, to accentuate the sharpness of the image or part of the image thanks to the tools of the U-Point technology. Indeed, Nik 6 Pre-Sharpener is the other plugin to benefit from this version 6.3 of the Nik Collection by DxO interface. So now the entire Nik Collection suite offers the same editing experience with a uniform layout of tools. Define is the Nik Collection's noise reduction tool. It allows, for example, to improve a JPEG image taken with a smartphone during a fireworks or during a low light scene. A quick reminder, Nik 6 Define got a makeover a few months ago with the arrival of version 6 of the Nik Collection. Like all Nik Collection plugins, Define work in standalone modes or integrated into the workflow of Photoshop, Lightroom, DxO Photolab, the wonderful DxO Photolab, and Affinity Photo. With the 4 previous plugins, so HDR, Define, Perspective, and Sharpener, we went through the 4 technical plugins of the Nik Collection. With Nik 6 Viveza, we enter the world of creativity. Viveza is the plugin that allows you to obtain breathtaking results almost instantly. Like all plugins, Viveza offers existing presets and the ability to create custom presets. So you can navigate through the presets to see the result and use it as a basis for your personal editing. Of course, it is also possible to start from a blank page and use Viveza's colors and tonal modification tools to build your final image. In Viveza, as in other plugins, presets can be exported and imported to share between several computers or between photographers. The last edit feature is a great help for those who forget to save their editing formula in the form of presets by keeping the memory of the last 15 presets applied to an image. Nik Color Efex is an extension of any good photographer's bag and color development lab. Some Nik Color Efex filters replace physical devices like the bicolor filter. 16 combinations are provided in this filter, 16 filters that you won't risk breaking in your bag or forgetting at home. Another example, the image borders filter allows you to create margins in different styles. Smarter filters are also available, such as foliage, which accentuates or modifies the color of areas made up of vegetation in the image. These filters, 58 in number, are organized by family to find them more easily. By combining the filters, we obtain presets. Nik 6 Color Efex has 39 presets upon installation, and the photographer can create an infinite number of them. The search bar allows you to quickly find your presets or pre-installed presets. Once again, Nik 6 Color Efex is both a photographer's bag and a color development lab with a range of technologies at the service of photographers' creativity. I have no doubt that Everything Nik Color Efex offers is possible in Photoshop, but at the cost of dozens, if not hundreds, of hours of editing. The false twin of Nik Color Efex, Nik Silver Efex, is without a doubt the plugin of reference for the creation of black and white images. It is a Patterson tank, an Ilford developer, a Durst enlarger, a pinch of mystery chemistry, and a black and white film store, Ilford, Kodak, Alpha, and many others in stock and not out of date. Nik Silver Efex, like the other plugins in the Nik Collection, allows you to use viewpoint technology tools for maximum control over the final rendering. Of course, Nik Silver Efex is installed with presets, 64 in total, but it is the photographer who will be able to give free rein to its imagination by combining precise and powerful tools. Here we go. With Nik Analog Efex, we enter an even more creative world with filters such as multi-lens cameras, bokeh shape modification plates, or double exposure. Analog Efex is the plugin for unreal creation. Purists may find it too playful. Passionate photographers will see it as an additional tool to create wonderful images from a digital file. In Nik Analog Efex, the filters are called camera kits. There are 14 of them. Combining them, Analog Efex offers 96 camera simulations. But again, this is only a tiny fraction of what is possible to do with Analog Efex. Sorry. Finally, to end this journey in the Nik Collection plugins, here is the 9th or the 8th and a half plugin. Nik 6 Sharpener consists of two parts: pre-sharpener that we mentioned at the beginning of this presentation and sharpener output. When you are done with your editing process comes the time for your image destination. Want to use your photos on social media, print them at home, or use a professional printing service? Nik 6 Sharpener output, should be your last step. It lets you finalize your images for any purpose, from any source, your camera or your smartphone. The control points and the control lines let you go even further and select certain areas of the image to accentuate or soften the final result. It is the most popular plugin among those who use it. Now, what you are waiting for, probably the best part of this presentation, the demo, Maurice, the demo,
okay,
of course.
Thank you very much, Nicolas. I'm very happy to present the last two plugins which complete the rewriting of the Nik collection. So we're going to talk about Nik HDR Efex and Nik Sharpener today. So we're going to start directly with Nik HDR Efex. I've got 5 photos there on my screen. Here we are. That I'm going to open in Photoshop. Now, for this demo, I'm going to use Photoshop, but you could use Lightroom or Photolab, or even open them with a standalone application. So I've got my 5 images there, and I'm going to use the Nik Collection 6 palette to open them. Now, there's 2 ways you can use Nik HDR Efex. You can use it on a single image and do some tone mapping, or you can use it to merge images. And we're going to look at the second case. So in the palette there, I've got these 2 options, and I'm going to choose the multiple exposure there. So I'm going to click on this, and Nik HDR is going to open a first window showing all the photos available in Photoshop. So if I've got other photos open at the same time, that's the place where I can unselect some of them. The second option I've got here is the ability to merge the final result as a smart object when I go back into Photoshop if I want to. I won't do that just now. I'm going to just merge the images. The application then is going to open a second window and bring the 5 images, so they're bracketed images with some underexposed, correctly exposed, and overexposed images. So if you're not familiar with HDR, HDR stands for High Dynamic Range, and it allows you to combine different tones, so you've got a better balance, contrast altogether. So quickly, I'm going to change this a little bit. If I look at the different tools we've got the first tool on the right-hand side, which is the alignment correction. And that's for when you're not using a tripod, which is exactly what happened with these photos. Basically, I was living on holiday and I saw this sunrise and the tripod was in the boot, and I'm not gonna go and get the tripod just now. I'm just gonna take a photo. So I was on the door of the car and took the 5 shots. So obviously the photos are not completely aligned. And actually, if I take the pin there and place it by the road, you can see in this view that the images are not completely aligned. And that's why we've got this feature. When you click on it, it's going to automatically align the 5 images and give you a much better shot there. The second one is the ghost reduction, and that's going to correct a problem when you've got an object in one of the 5 images. For example, I could have a bird going through one of the images and I want to remove this. That's going to create a ghost image. So I want to remove this. I'm going to use this little tool to do so, and I can actually use a different strength depending on my need. The third tool you're going to get is the chromatic aberration. So I don't have any on this image, so I don't need to use that. But if you do have some on your images, that's the feature you're after. All I'm going to do now is just merge the 5 images. So I'm going to click on Create HDR just there. And that's going to open a third window. And that's going to be quite something familiar for the Nik Collection users, because as in the other plugins, now we've got our presets on the left-hand side and all the settings on the right-hand side. So what I'm going to do, and what I usually do when I work with HDR, and it starts with a preset, something I quite like, and then I'm gonna change some settings depending on the subject I've got. So if I go through the different settings, I've got various things I could apply, and I've got this one, bright, which actually looks fairly close to what I've seen the morning I took the photo. So that's going to be my starting point, and I'm going to move to the right-hand side of the screen to refine this a little bit. And I'm going to start with the tone compression. So when I applied the preset, some correction already been applied there, but I'm just going to go through that. So the tone compression, basically, if you put the cursor to the left, then you're going to be in much more darker tones. And if you bring the cursor to the right, you'll be in lighter tones. So actually what the preset proposed was quite good for what I wanted to do. So I'm going to leave it around 60%. Underneath, you've got the method strength, and that's going to allow to have a different effect. So if I go on the left-hand side, we'll get softer clouds. But if I go completely on the opposite direction, then you can see that there's a lot more structure to the cloud and the grass. Again, I quite like my HDR images to look natural, so I'm going to come back to something more in the middle, and actually around 54% is quite good. Now, something I remember when shooting this image is that the skies was a lot more bright and more saturated, really. And that's what's lacking on this image. So I'm going to go to the saturation slider there, and I'm going to push it so the color of the sky is it's closer to what I had in mind. And I'm kind of good, but I'm reaching on 100%, so it's good. The sky looks better to me, but I've got a huge issue on the grass now, because it's a bright green. It's not natural at all. But the good thing is we've got, since Nik Collection 6, we've got a new tool to correct that quickly, which is the control line. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll a bit, take a control line and place it on my image. And I'm going to activate the mask so we can see what's happening. I'm going to take the eyedropper and concentrate on the grass itself because that's what I want to correct. But even when I do that, there is still part of the sky which is selected, which I don't want to do that because I don't want to desaturate the sky at all. So I'm going to play with two sliders, the chrominance and luminance, to target more the area I want to work with. So these two sliders are just there. So as I move them, you can see that my selection is much better. So now it's only looking at the grass and the road. And the road being gray, I don't mind having the road in the selection. And I could play more if I just wanted the grass, but this is fine. That's what I want to target. So now I'm gonna disable the mask and come back and actually go to the saturation for the local adjustment and bring it down, down, and down. And actually, I'm down to the maximum there. And you might think then, if I'm at minus 100, maybe this should be in black and white because I'm at minus 100. But what we do in Nik HDR Efex actually is to counterbalance whatever saturation you've got above. So if I look at the saturation at above, I was on 97%. I'm bringing my local adjustment to minus 100%. So in reality, I'm minus 3% of the grass compared to my initial image, which is fine with me. So now I've got a much more balanced image and I'm quite happy with that. I'm not going to go into a lot of more details for this plugin because as you can see, there are a lot of options available. If there's just one thing I would like to mention is you can be even more creative with your HDR shots by playing with the levels and curve. For example, if I go there and I choose vintage, you can see that it's going to drastically change the look of the image. That might not work really well on a sunrise, but if you do some architecture or cityscape photography, that could be very helpful. So here we are. So now I've got the options to convert it as a smart object if I didn't do it when I started my session in Photoshop, if I didn't do it in the first screen, and now realize maybe actually I might not keep exactly all these settings. I still get a chance to convert now your image to a smart object and come back to it later on if you want to. I'm not going to do that. It's going to be okay for now. I'm just going to apply it and I'm going to come back into Photoshop and then I can save the image in the format that I want. And we're going to move to Sharpener. As Nicolas was saying, there are two stages in Nik Sharpener. There's the pre-sharpening, that's going to prepare your image for editing, and then the output sharpening. It's when you want to put on social medias or print your image. So we're going to look at the first stage now, and for that, I'm going to open a new image. So I'm coming back to my Finder, and I'm going to open this image. This is an image I took in Budapest, and if I look at the photo in detail, it's okay, but it's not tack sharp, and that might be due to anti-aliasing from the camera, but it's okay, but I want it to have a bit more sharpness before I start all my editing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open Pre-Sharpener. So again, I can open it from the Nik Collection 6 palette there, or I can go to Filter, Nik Collection 6 palette, Filter, and open it there. And you might notice that in my filters, actually now I've got two instances of the Nik Collection, and that's something we're going to discuss later on, but from this version, it's possible to install two versions in parallel, which is quite handy when you want to try things. So for now, I'm just going to open Pre-Sharpener. And that's going to be a fairly quick operation because as soon as you open the image, some sharpening has been applied already on the image. So I'm going to zoom quite a bit so we see what's happening, and I'm going to concentrate on the tram. And actually, there's a before and after. If you look at the mirror, there's something going on already, but because through YouTube, you might not see as much detail, so I'm going to push the cursor a bit more, actually a lot more. A lot more, yeah. A lot more, so it's very visible. So if you look at this part of this image, you can see the before and the after. So it's quite a drastic change. Now, again, I don't want to do the full sharpening on this image at this stage. I just want to be tag sharp so I can start editing and make it look good. So I'm going to actually bring down the cursor down to what it was, more or less, because it was quite a good setting there. And I'm good. For this type of image, I can just click apply and it'll be fine. Now, if you've got different type of images, which maybe with dark areas or other things, or you want to play with colors, you've got some options. So you can target the high ISO if you want to, or you can actually play with the color ranges. For example, on this image, I'm not sure I want to sharpen the sky. It doesn't bring much to this photo. So I can actually take a little color picker there and pick the color of the sky and say, you know what, just don't try to sharpen that at all. There's no use. So I can really see what I want to sharpen when I prepare my image, so I don't over sharpen it in places where I don't need to. And that's all I'm going to do for this stage for the pre-sharpening. So I'm going to hit apply, which again, I could have said as a smart object if I wanted to. And we're going to review a few of the features available since Nik Collection 6, because I would like to change the look of this image a little bit. I quite would like to give it a more autumnal look and maybe have the skies a bit like more saturated, a bit brighter. So I would like the image to pop a bit more really. So to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open it in Nik Color Efex. Again, I'm going to go to my palette on the left-hand side and click on Nik Color Efex. Now, to be more tonal, what I would like to do probably is to change the colors of the tree. That would be a good starting point. And to do that, I've got several options. I've got at least three. The first one will be to play with the new HSL feature, which is available since Nik Collection 6. So all I've got to do is click on the color range I want and move the slider. And very quickly I can change the color of the tree. Now there's other way of doing that. I can use a filter, so I'm going to disable the HSL for now. I can use a filter, and actually, Nicolas, you've mentioned foliage
right.
earlier on. Maybe that's something we can look at, but I think if I remember well that foliage is more for spring or summer.
Yeah, less for autumn.
Yeah, because it's going to concentrate on the green and give you variation on the green. Actually, we can open that to have a quick look, but that's what we want to do if you want to change a bit the color of the green. But there is another filter which gonna target more the leaves to give them an orange color, and that's Indian summer. So if I click on this, you're gonna see that the tree starts to look the way I want and matches the color of the tram. So that's my second option, but actually I remember that there is a preset that's got Indian summer and it's got another filter that's gonna balance the image a bit more. So I'm going to go to the presets there, and I know the name of the preset, so I can use the preset search to access it more quickly, and it's called Fall. And of course, my computer is thinking about it. Here we are. So I applied Fall, and I can see that I've got my Indian summer and I've got my skylight filter there. So it started to balance the image a bit more than just applying the filter. So that's quite good. The second thing I wanted to do is to have the sky a bit more saturated. So this time around, I'm going to use, sorry?
It seems that your screen is black.
My screen is black.
Yeah, which is not exactly what we
No,
want, in fact.
It's not.
So let's reconnect your screen.
Is it?
That's the point of live, in fact.
It is.
It's always a surprise, you know. We discover some strange stuff. That's life.
Okay, so we were applying the preset of Fall.
That's what you were doing, right?
That's exactly what I was doing, yes. And I was saying that I would like the sky to be a bit more saturated as well. So this time around, I'm going to use the HSL just to do that, because it's going to be very quick. Again, usually I will push it a bit, but because we're through YouTube, I'm going to push the cursor a lot more to see what's happening there. And I can do before and after. The only problem with that is I'm comparing the image when I first imported it to my last edit. So it's a huge difference. And what I would like to see is actually what I'm doing with this blue skies change. And there's a way of doing that. So I'm going to go into the history there. And as you can see, you've got a little cursor and it indicates me what I'm going to compare to what. So what it says there is I'm going to compare my original image to my last edit. And it's exactly what we can see on screen. Now, if I move this to fall, which was my previous setting just before the sky, then when I press the compare button, it's just gonna work on the sky. So I can actually be a lot more precise in what I do on my image, which means that at any stage you can apply some filters, you can do some settings, and really compare between two versions to see what you prefer. So then you can have a new starting point or do some little adjustment on that. I'm not going to go through all the features of Color Efex, that's not the point. But again, I've got access to control points, control lines, and which are available through the entire plugin collection. And again, I can save things as a smart object. And if I want to change look directly, I can access, like Nicolas was saying, to my last 15 edits, and which means that it's something I might have done on a previous photo, and I want to see how it's going to look on this image. So that's a look I did for another image, which could work for that. It's completely different look, but that could be a new starting point. So you can actually try things by using one of the last presets, and if you're using with a complete collection, that's a quick way of reapplying your preset without saving any specific presets. So I'm just going to apply it. I'm not going to convert it to a smart object. And we're going to come back to Nik Sharpener and talk about sharpener output. And to do that, I'm going to open a third picture because there are some points I want to discuss. So back to the Finder and opening the third image, and that's the portrait of a friend, Manon, which is a photo I took in Spain. And there's a few things I'd like to do on this image. First, I'd like to convert it to black and white and give it some grain. And then I would like to print it. And actually, that's something I've done already before. And you can see the result behind Nicolas. But we're going to go through the whole process again so I can explain how to do that. So for the conversion to black and white with the addition of grain, I'm going to go, of course, with Silver Efex. But we're going to go very quickly through that just to apply something. So again, I'm going to go through my custom presets because I did several shots and I've used this already. So I'm going to go and type in a keyword in the search. And I know that this preset was Manon Rocks, but I did a whole series in the rocks. And I think for this one I can use that, which is Manon Rocks 3. And I'm going to zoom on this. Now, that's a big zoom level there. And I do a compare. So that's the simple conversion from color to black and white when the image first arrived, and that's the preset I've created with some local adjustments on the eyes so they pop a bit more. That's all I'm going to do in Silver Efex. I'm going to apply this and we're going to move to a sharpener output. Now, when using sharpener output, there's something which is really important, is that you've got to make sure that the image you're going to sharpen is at the right size, because the application will do everything to enhance the image for a specific size. So this image there is 50 centimeters wide. So before I started to make sure that the image I've got on my screen is going to match this. So I'm going to go to image size, and check I'm in pixels. So I'm going to switch to millimeter or centimeter. And actually I'm at 41.3, so it's not quite right. So I'm going to change that to 50 and save. And from there, the photo is ready to be sharpened. So I'm gonna go to my palette, once again, open Nik Sharpener output, and to sharpen the image, I'm gonna have to answer a few questions depending on what I want to do with the image. If I want to go to use it on social media, if I want to print it, I'll have a different set of questions. And actually, in the questions, they are on the right-hand side. And before I start answering the question, you might have seen that the interface in Nik Sharpener output is again aligned with the other interfaces. And now we've got the presets on the left-hand side of the screen, which was not something we had previously, which is quite handy because once you start using the Sharpener output and you prepare for all your outputs like printer or social media, then you can reuse your preset fairly quickly. You don't have to go through the whole process again. But for this time, we're going to go through the full process. So the first question the application is going to ask me is, why do you want to sharpen your image? Is it for display? So to go on social media or to send to people? Is it for an inkjet printer, so a personal printer? Is it continuous tone, which is sending it to a professional lab to print it, which got wider range of colors, so it's a completely different thing. Is it halftone, which would work well for this image because halftone is black and white? Or is it for hybrid device? So it's trying to find the best solution if you want to put it on different social medias. And having done the exercise before, I know that my two choices could be halftone because it's a black and white image, or it could be inkjet because I'm using an inkjet printer. And actually, I think I'm going to use inkjet because I prefer the way it looks. But that's very subjective, so you'll have to try both versions to see what you like. So I'm going to choose inkjet, and from there, it's going to ask me a second question, which is the viewing distance. So when you're going to put your image, whatever it is, if it's on the wall, there's a viewing distance where you need to view this image, and by default, it's on automatic. What does this mean? It means that the application is going to look at the diagonal of this image and multiply that by 1.5 times, so it gives you a viewing distance. So for example, for this image, my image is 50 centimeters by something like 33 high. So that's going to be a diagonal about 60 centimeters. So times 1.5, I'm on 90 centimeter viewing distance, which is fine if you just like that. Now you might want to put your photos behind a sofa, behind a desk, wherever. So you might want to change that depending on your needs. And when I'm going to change the settings on this, you're going to see that on the main screen, the sharpness is going to change quite a bit. I'm just going to zoom a bit more so it's very visible through YouTube. Here you are. Yeah. And actually, what you see on the screen is not what you're going to get on paper. What you see on the screen is a way of showing you the differences between the sharpening between two stages. Obviously, now we're going to be on an inkjet, so the result is going to be completely different. You need to try to trust the application when doing it. So I'm going to stay at 1.2 to 2.5 meter. Let's say I'm going to put it behind a desk, which could be the situation where we had someone in front of us. Yes, just now. The third question I'm going to have to answer is the type of paper. So quickly, I'm going to go to glossy, but you can see that you've got a lot of other choices you can choose from. And the last question, because I've chose inkjet, is the printer's resolution. So for that, you're going to have to go back to your user guide for your printer, which is going to indicate you the best resolution you need to use. So I'm using a Canon Pro 1000, so the resolution for that is 2400 by 1200. So I go to the drop-down list and choose this. And my photo is now ready to print. I could stop there. A couple of extra information, because you can use the creative sharpening and you can use the selective sharpening. So the creative sharpening, you can really work with the focus and change the way the photo looks a bit. And actually, I'm going to want to show you the selective sharpening, because on this image, not everything is in focus. Manon is in focus, which is good for this photo, but the background, but the background is not in focus. So really, I don't need to bring that much sharpness to it. So I can use actually a selective sharpness. So I'm going to put a control point because I really want the sharpness to be on the eyes, on the mouth, on the hair, and not really on the rest. So I'm going to place a control point there. I'm going to activate the mask to see what I'm doing. Actually, I'm going to increase the radius there. And it's kind of okay, but yeah, that's what I want. I want, more sharpness there on the eyes, the lips, the hair, and it's doing a good job there. The only thing is I still get a bit of sharpness going on in the background. It's not a big deal, but I don't want the sharpness there at all. So for that, I can use the new diffusion level, which is available since Nik Collection 6, to target a bit more what I want. And you can see that very quickly I removed a part of the background there. Again, I'm not going to go through all the options of Nik Sharpener outputs. It could be fairly quick. You can answer just 4 questions and print your image. You can be more creative. You can target some specific areas. If you've got a color photo, you can target some colors. For now, I'm good. I'm going to convert it to a smart object because it could be a new photo, so I'm going to print it and I might be happy with the result, but I might want more or a bit less sharpening on the image, depending on my taste. So I don't want to go through the whole process again. What I'm going to do is save it as a smart object, so it'll be much faster to change anything if I want to. So I'm going to click on Apply. And now my image is ready to print through Photoshop directly. Now, if you want to reuse this image and put it on social media, like on Instagram, for example, you need to redo the same thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bin this sharpening for the print. And let's say I want to do a post on Instagram. So first, again, I need to check the size. And because I'm going to use a square format, I'm going to crop it first. There we are. I'm going to place the image there, double click, and I'm going to go into image size, and check that the size is good for Instagram post is 180 by 180 pixels. So very quickly, I'm going to change the image and I'm ready to use it. Now, the good part is when you do a display sharpening is just the one question, which is display. Which is display, which is even faster. And actually, we've posted this image on our Instagram account,
yeah.
I believe.
Yes, you believe, right?
I believe, right? This is good.
Yeah, we posted your 3 pictures, in fact. So the first one, the one in color. I will say the perfect one after Silver Efex, and we posted also the one after Sharpener output.
The more than perfect.
Yeah, the more than perfect. Okay, the point is looking at the one outside coming out from Silver Efex is perfect. It's wonderful, nice black and white, nice gray. Okay, nice. And then we used Sharpener output. And the result is you can compare the 2 images and say, okay, this one after Sharpener output is better. You can't say, it's quite difficult to say how it's better, but it's better, no doubt about that. And that's what I was saying, that as soon as you start working with Sharpener output, which is quite quick, in fact.
It is quick.
Your demo for printing is a bit long because you were talking, explaining, and so on and so on. When you want to do that, you know your printer, so maybe it's a bit tricky the first time because you had to know how your printer is reacting and so on. But as soon as you are printing pictures, it's quite a long process, and that's normal. If you want to sharpen just for social media, for example, if you want to share a picture on WhatsApp with your family and so on, just open out Sharpener output, click on display, click on save, and you're done.
And actually for the printers, because I've got several printers, using my preset, my custom preset means that it's always like 2 clicks.
Exactly, because after that it's the same, your printer is reacting always the same way, so first step, a bit long, maybe, probably, but then, wonderful. So yeah, the answer is yes, we post those 3 pictures on Instagram. We also put the link on the Instagram post on into the chat, the YouTube chat.
Great.
So you can have a look on Manon in color, in black and white, and
Sharpened.
Thank
you very much. I think I'm going to stop the demo there. It was just to give you an overview of Sharpener and HDR. And I'm going to give the mic back to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for this demo, this wonderful demo. So let's continue this presentation, if I can click, yes I can, with now so an overview of some technologies present in the Nik Collection. So naturally I will start with the Nik Collection's interactive selection technology, the U-point technology. So it is a set of tools and parameters, and we saw that into your demo, Boris, which allow whatever the content constituting the image to make precise and fast selection, both precise and fast. Initially equipped only with control points, DxO added so control lines in this version 6 to increase the selection speed without compromising on selection quality. In an age of AI-assisted mask, which sometimes hallucinate, the tool of the U-point technology guarantee a predictable result in 100% of cases, thanks to the luminance, the chrominance, and the new slider, the diffusion slider, so new in version 6. Let's talk about workflow. So even if it's quite possible to use the Nik Collection without any other editing software, integration into the different workflows is at the heart of the DNA of the Nik Collection. With this rewrite step completed, the plugins are all Apple Silicon native. In version 6.3, as you explained, we implement parallel installation. So in short, you can run 2 instances of the Nik Collection. So if you own a version from the Google one to the last one, or the previous last one, the Nik Collection 5, so by DxO, you can install and test Nik Collection 6.3 without any impact on your previous version. We also, at the occasion of this version 6.3, we also reset the trial so everyone can test or retest Nik Collection 6. Going back to workflows, Nik Collection works in plugin mode for Affinity Photo. I saw a question in the chat, so yeah, it's working with Affinity Photo, with Adobe Lightroom Classic, with Adobe Photoshop, and with the wonderful DxO Photolab, of course. And I lose my cursor. Here we are. The HSL filter you demonstrate also, which appeared in this version 6, so it's a new feature of version 6, not of version 6.3, but of version 6, is a tool as simple as it is powerful. With just a few clicks and without the need to try for hours, HSL filter adjusts colors and tones. Let's continue with a tool from Photolab, the famous, wonderful Photolab, the Clear View filter, who reduces the impact of atmospheric disturbances such as mist, pollution, and even light rain. Like the HSL filter, and more broadly like the tools in the Nik Collection, the Clear View filter has been designed for photographers so that its use is intuitive. But this ease of use doesn't come at the expense of the complexity of the algorithm implemented by the DxO Labs team. This is pretty much sums up what's going in the Nik Collection rewritten by DxO. Intuitive use of powerful and complex tools to unleash creativity. Since I'm summarizing the Nik Collection, I will try to do it in just one slide. So first of all, Nik Collection 6.3 is not just an upgrade, not just an update, sorry. It is an integral transformation. Each plugin has been rebuilt from scratch. We've spent countless hours, more accurately years, improving every detail of the Nik Collection, ensuring that the performance offer is unparalleled and seamlessly integrated into every creative process. In parallel with this internal rewriting process, DxO has continued to offer new functionalities, and in particular in this version 6, the enrichment of the viewpoint technology with the arrival, in addition to the control points, control lines, and a diffusion slider. The workflow has been improved, so Nik Collection 6 is fully Apple Silicon native. With the arrival of parallel installation in this version 6.3, you can now install and run 2 instances without loss of information. We improve the non-destructive aspect of the workflow, so with Photoshop by adding the possibility of creating a smart object from Nik Collection plugins, and with the automatic creation of presets corresponding to the last 15 backups, the last edit feature. Finally, with this version 6.3, the interface of the plugins and therefore the user experience is fully homogeneous. On the price side, here we go. No change for this version 6.3 compared to version 6. The license is perpetual. You do have prices in euros, British pound, and US dollar. I remind you that Nik Collection download and trial are free for 30 days and does not require any credit card. I remind you also that all photographers can try the Nik Collection 6.3 because we reset the trial for this minor version, and because it is a minor version, of course, for all Nik Collection. Oh, I'm so tired. Nik Collection 6 users, this is a free update. Sorry. But that's not all. We do have a gift for you. 5 hours of in-depth tutorial from Estopper, worth $99 US for free when you buy Nik Collection. So this tutorial named Mastering Nik Collection from Beginner to Expert is a complete tutorial made by Mark Wallace. And now it's time for your question and, of course, our answers. So I guess we do have already some question in the chat. We do have Maxime, who is behind the chat. Maxime, can you send us some questions? If not, I can have a look on the chat directly.
Well, I think we've answered that.
Is it compatible with Affinity Photo? Yes, Jean from PhotoMod. Yes, it is compatible with Affinity Photo.
And actually, the installation since Nik Collection 6 is even easier than before. It was a bit tricky in the past, but now it's seamless.
Thank you so much for that. I saw your comment before. Yeah, in fact, quickly, the improvement of the viewpoint technology adding control line is really, really helpful. What Boris made with the control line on the HDR file was possible formally. Oh, okay, it was not exactly possible because the Nik Collection by DxO interface was not available. But at least what you can do with a control line, you can do it with multiple control points. Yeah. But with control line, it's so easy and so fast.
It's much quicker. And now we've got even the inverted selection, which could be very useful in some cases as well.
I have a V3, Colin. Is there an upgrade path for me? Unfortunately, no. Upgrade path is for V4 and V5. But at least, in fact, again, sorry, something in mind. At least you can try 6.3, download the trial version, try 6.3, your V3 will be still there.
Yep.
Up to you then to consider changing to a benefit, because V3 is quite old. Yeah. Is there a version 7 ahead? I will say that let's talk about version 6. Let's try and run version 6. In fact, you know, what we said at the beginning of this presentation was Nik Collection user will continue to benefit from improved technical improvement, functional improvement. So we can make a joke and switch from version 6 to version 8, and so the answer will be no Nik Collection 7. But at least, of course, we will continue to improve this suite of plugins. Yes, we will continue. I upgraded to Nik 6 when it was released. How do I get the free tutorial? You will receive an email with a code in order for you to register on Fstopper platform. So I'm not going to explain exactly all the process, but the email you are going to receive will explain step by step what you have to do, where to use the code in order to get this free tutorial. So I'm going to take this opportunity to explain that all Nik Collection 6 users, those who are going to buy Nik Collection 6.3 starting from today, those who already bought Nik Collection 6, upgradists or new users, you are going to benefit from this free tutorial. This is a time-limited offer starting from today until September
25.
25th,
Yep.
yeah, right. So Michael, you do have to, so as soon as you received your, okay, if you don't want to buy Nik Collection 6, but you prefer to buy only the tutorial, you just have to go on Fstopper website. There is a tutorial section, if my memory is good.
That's correct.
You do have a subsection named editorial and retouching, something like that, and you do have access to the tutorial. And again, if you are a user of Nik Collection 6, or if you are going to be a user of Nik Collection 6 within the months coming, you will receive this email with all explain step by step how to manage to get this tutorial. And of course, if you need some help, you do have the DxO customer support in order to help you to manage that. I installed the 6.3. Not all of my old version 6 is there.
Yeah, it's more a phasing from 6 to 6.3, so it's kind of the same version. So we were talking about previous version. We're talking about version
major release, in fact. So the 6.3 version 6 cannot. You can run 2 instances of major version of the Nik Collection, meaning. Let's take the example of version 3. You can run version 6 and version 3.
Yeah.
When you update, it's replacing your old minor version, so 6.2 to 6.3, and you can't run 2 instances of 6.
No, that's correct.
And Maxime is
no,
doing something like that, meaning probably there is no more questions.
I think that's what it means, yes.
And we are
2 minutes.
exactly on time.
It's good.
Wow, a bit. It's good, yeah. So we are gonna take this moment to thank you so much. Oh, DxO is the way to. I do agree with that. We can talk about many other softwares like DxO Pluro and so on, but okay, let's talk about Photolab and Nik Collection, and Photolab and Nik Collection especially. Yeah, a warm thank you. We saw messages coming from many cities in the Europe, in the US, probably in South America. I saw also. Thank you for being there. It's wonderful. If you do have additional questions, you can continue to use social network and especially this YouTube video. We will let the YouTube video so you can have a look on it if needed. If you do have technical point, we do have this customer support, especially for f-stoppers if you need help to activate your account and so on. So we are at your disposal. Enjoy the Nik Collection 6, make wonderful picture. If you want to share picture with us on social media, you can use the hashtag made with the Nik Collection. Made with the Nik Collection. And it's gonna be a pleasure to have a look on all those wonderful pictures you are gonna do.
Yeah, we're looking forward to them. Thank you for watching. Thanks a lot. And see you soon.
See you soon, maybe for version 7. We'll see. See you. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.